No, he texted me.
So that'd be kind of bad.
All right, we're going to continue on with a concept that we have done so far. And if you remember right, we have, we've been talking about the roots, the solutions, the zeros or something. Which is what makes the equation equal 0. It's where it crosses the x-axis if it's a real number, and it's what we consider the solving. If we have like a polynomial that's squared, we know how to solve for that because we can complete the square, we can factor it, we can use the quadratic formula on it, we can do all kinds, we can graph it and see where it crosses, so we can do all kinds of stuff on this to solve this. However, not all of them have the squared power. Some of them are bigger than that, and so we have to talk about how to solve the ones that are bigger than the square, okay? So that's what today is going to be about, and it's going to kind of involve the two concepts that you've done already, that when you plug in a number, if it comes out to be 0, then it's going to be a factor of it. And then you can do synthetic division to find a polynomial. So that being the case, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this one has an x cubed. All right, so I've got that going. Oh, wait a minute. Keeps going. All right, I can't use the traditional ways on that because it's to the third power. So I can't use the quadratic equation. I can't factor it. I can't complete the square. So what I have to do is I have to try and figure out at least a singular factor for it so that I could do a depressed polynomial and factor the other. So the way that I'm going to do that, now we're going to do it different than the book shows you. The book shows you doing synthetic division on every single number you pick. This is the old random stuff like, remember in Algebra 1 where you didn't know how to graph yet. And so you picked numbers for the x and you plugged it in for the table and then you plotted the points. This is similar. I just right now can pick numbers to plug in. Okay, now the wonderful thing about this, as opposed to Algebra 1, is I can use the calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these numbers in for the store. I'm going to store it for x, plug it into that equation, and if it equals 0, then I know I've got a solution, which then I can have a factor. Okay, so go ahead and pick your calculator up. And you only have to find 1, because if I find 1, Joseph, it's going to take it down to squared, and then I'll be able to do it the normal way. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying? Just plug these, like plug -4 in for x, put that equation in, and then if that doesn't equal 0, go back and do a -3 until we find one that equals 0. Okay? Okay, so this first one works.
Yes.
Okay, good. Then I'm going to take, now if that one didn't work, I would keep going until I found one that did. Okay. So I'm going to take that first one, and I'm going to go ahead and do synthetic division with it. Okay? So this is going to give me, let's see, I have a 1, I have a 2, I have a -16, and I have a -32. Okay? I'm going to bring the 1 straight down, of course, and do the whole technique. You should be able to almost do this in your sleep at this point. Now, you should get a 0 when you get to the end, or you've plugged it in wrong, okay? Because you had already told me that I got 0 for it by plugging it in. So now I have to make the depressed polynomial out of this. So I have an x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, you with me? All right, so I'm going to erase this stuff right here so I have room. And so I know that x plus 4, which is the factor form of that, okay, times x squared minus 2x minus 8 gives me that. Okay, but if they ask me to determine the factors of it, I've got to try and factor that. Okay, so I'm still going to bring the x plus 4 down, and I'm going to go x minus 4 and x plus 2. Okay, I separated that, I factored that into the two sets of parentheses, and if you did backwards and did FOIL, you would see that you would get that. So this right here, those are the factors of that polynomial.
Okay.
If they ask me to solve it or find the roots, which I'm looking to see if they do on any of these, they don't yet. But eventually what we're going to do is we're going to set each one of them equal to 0 and solve it. So I'm going to find out that that equation would cross at -4, +4, and -2, and it has 3 real roots.
Okay.
Okay, is that kind of making sense how it all falls together? Okay, so you just pick a random bit of numbers. That's all I did. I did -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3 until
Okay.
you find one that works.
Okay.
Okay?
So there's not a certain spot. that you set
No,
that?
no. Now we're going to learn how to narrow that down, but right now it's like plugging in those random points of going, okay, let's just pick a value for x. Okay, so let's do another one. So this involves synthetic division. It involves using the store button on your calculator. It involves factoring. Okay, so it brings into play a lot of the other things that you already know how to do. What about this one? Oops, that's a cube. Okay, and again, I would just randomly start until I found one that equals 0. That's what I'm seeking to find. So use the calculator store button and see what you can do.
First one doesn't work.
First one doesn't work. Okay. And you know you can go second, calculate, and just go back and change the -3. You don't have to retype it all the way in.
So -3 won't work.
-3 should work. Oh, okay. Okay, you, something happened on your, okay. See, that, I would use the store button. So -3, store it for your x. Okay, and then I'm going to go x raised to the 3rd power minus 7x. You don't have your fancy calculator today.
No, I forgot it.
I always forget that yours always does that. Here we go. All right. See, I do get a 0 for that. But let's say I was going to try and put, let's say I didn't. Okay, second enter allows me to go back and manipulate that, and then I would just scroll back and change that to the 2. Okay, so that'd be the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we find out that -3 works. Okay. And when I say it works, it means it results in 0, which means x minus a -3 is a factor. Okay. So that's a factor. Okay, but I've got to come over here and find out what I have to multiply by that to get that. Okay, so I'm going to do synthetic division on it. So I have a 1 I'm gonna have a 0 because I don't have an x squared.
Wouldn't the half square thing be positive 3?
No, it's gonna be whatever
Oh,
this
just
number
whatever,
is, okay? Because remember, it's gonna be the opposite of this,
Oh,
if they gave it to me in that form, but it's always whatever that number is. Okay, -7 and 6. Okay, I don't know how best not to block the camera. All right, I'm gonna bring this straight down. I'm gonna multiply, place, add, multiply, place, add. And remember, you should get a 0 or you've done something wrong. So then my depressed polynomial is x squared minus 3x plus 2. So what I'm saying is x plus 3, which is the factor form of -3, and remember a factor is what you multiply together to get something, times x squared minus 3x plus 2 is going to give me that if I multiplied it. Those are the two factors of it. But then I look and I go, I bet I can break that down into smaller factors. So I have x plus 3, and then I'm looking and I'm going, that's going to be 2 sets of parentheses. X, and it looks like it's going to be -2 and -1. Okay, but then double check to make sure that works, and it does. So these are the 3 factors of that. And if they ask me for the roots, the solutions, or the zeros, it would be -3, +2, and +1.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to give you one to try. Okay? So you can see how it involves what you've already done.
Right.
You know, it's just
Synthetic
building
division.
on it. All right. And this says, determine the binomial factors of this polynomial. And you're going to do it exactly like we did it before, where you like plug in
Okay.
until you get a 0. And I probably would always start with like -4 and go -3. I don't know why. The book does it that way.
Okay.
We will narrow it down so that it's not just random.
Okay. First one doesn't work.
Okay.
Wait, so how do I go back again?
Okay, second enter,
Okay.
and then you should be able to use the arrow buttons to go back over top of it. Did that work?
Yes. So -3 doesn't work.
Okay, try -2 then.
Okay. So -2 works.
-2 works. Okay. So you know that one of the factors is x minus a negative 2, which is going to be x plus 2. So now we have to find the rest of them. Okay, so I put it, since minus 2 works, I put the negative 2 in the half a box. 1, negative 2, negative 13, and negative 10. And then you're going to do synthetic division on that. By the time you finish this chapter, you should be sick of synthetic division.
Is this a big chapter?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so I have x squared minus 4x minus 5, right?
Right.
Okay, so if I multiply x squared minus 4x minus 5 times that, it would give me that polynomial. But I probably can factor that more. Okay, so I'm going to break it because you see it's got a squared on it. So I have x plus 2 times 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to put an x and an x. And really the only choice I have is a 5 and a 1. Okay, which is kind of nice. Outside's going to give me 5x. Inside's going to give me 1x. If the 5's negative and the 1's positive, I'm going to get a negative 4x, right?
Right.
So I need to put a negative there and a positive there. But then I always go back and double check to make sure that works with last, and it does. So these are the 3 factors of that polynomial, the 3 things that I multiply together to get that polynomial. If I ask for the root solutions or zeros of it, it would be negative 2, negative 1, and positive 5. So if you graphed it, that's where it would cross, okay? And you notice it's got 3 solutions. We just found the 3 solutions. So there's no imaginary here. These are all real.
Okay.
Does that, see how it all works together? Okay, then it's got another, so that's one part of this particular chapter. We're just finishing the chapter today that we had done stuff on the other day. Okay? This sounds a little weird, but it's not. Okay, it's just a matter of understanding the instructions. It says find the value of k so that the remainder of x cubed plus 3x squared minus kx minus 24 divided by x plus 3 equals 0. So the remainder equals 0. Now, there's a couple unknowns here, right? But remember, for that to be a factor, I have to be able to go the f of negative 3, and I plug it into that equation, and it's going to have to give me 0. That's how I know it's going to be a factor. That's what you've been doing on your calculator when you use the store button. So I'm going to plug this in. But I can't use the calculator for this because I got that K in there. Okay, so I have to do it by hand, but I know when I plug it in, it should give me a 0 because I have a 0 remainder.
Right.
And whatever I get when I plug in that number is the remainder. So if I plug in the number, I have a negative 3 cubed plus 3 times negative 3 squared minus k times negative 3 minus 24. Okay? So negative 3 cubed is negative 27. Negative 3 squared is going to be 9 times positive 3, which is going to be a positive 27. Okay? Keep bringing the 0 down. And this is going to be plus 3k minus 24. You with me? That and that go away. So I have 0 is equal to 3k minus 24. How do you think I'm going to figure out what k is?
When you take it, plus 24.
Exactly. You're just solving for it. Okay, so I've got 24 is equal to 3k. What is k going to equal since I'm out of room?
8.
8. Okay, so k equals 8. Okay, and the logic behind it is if this is a factor, then when I plug in the opposite here, I should get a 0. Okay, and it told me I got a 0. So once I take that -3 and put it in all the x locations, the only variable I have left is the k, and I can easily solve for it.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you try one of these? Okay, and it says find the value of j so that the remainder of this is 0. So I'm putting this up here. Oh, that's a minus. All right, see if you can solve for j.
So since it's a negative, positive.
That's it. You're going to plug in the positive 2.
Okay, that's what I have.
Okay, go ahead and proceed and solve for your j. Okay.
Then well, I got all the way up to the second last part.
Okay. I did this the easy way. I said I have a
Oh.
positive 8 and a
Okay,
negative 8,
yeah.
so I just marked them out.
Okay, so then you're looking 24.
So then you have 24 minus 2j equals 0, so then just solve for j.
Uh, 12.
Okay, that's
J
it.
equals 12.
No, it's positive 12. Because you've got a negative
Oh
2j
yeah, that's what I said. J
equals
12.
negative 24, so j is equal to positive 12. Okay? Good, good. All right. We're going to stop there. Okay? And I'm going to give you your homework, and I would like you to do your homework in class before you leave. And that way you'll walk out of here, you won't have any homework for Thanksgiving. Okay? So on page 227, I want
Honestly,
you
my
to
dad would
do.
probably still make me do math.
Well, that's okay though. He may. I mean, it just depends on how your Thanksgiving goes, you know, y'all might run out of time. Yeah, the thing is we'll have to review everything that we have done in this section, this chapter so far when you come back. 'Cause y'all will have just eaten too much turkey. Alright,